Hey.
Hey,
Oh. Hello. Welcome to Email
good
Coffee. Yeah,
morning.
really. Good morning, America.
I know.
Welcome to Email and Coffee. April showers bring May flowers, and it's another rainy day in New York. But it's a perfect day to shop for new stuff. What better way to do that than through my inbox? It's turned into a virtual gateway for window shopping. So today I'm talking with Kestrel Lennon, email expert and speaker, about email marketing for retail. Hey, Kestrel, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, Joy. Thanks so much for having me today. Yep. So I've been in email marketing / digital marketing for the past 10 plus years. Kind of cut my teeth over at Bronto. So definitely a lot of the news that's going around about Bronto has been pretty sad lately for me. Spent 5 years there, helped to open up the London office, and then spent some time over at Tenuity, which is a great agency, doing their internal email marketing. And now I'm over at Seguno. And through that whole time, I have loved retail and e-commerce. So I am very excited to come here today and talk to you about it. Worked with hundreds of clients on this very topic. And I think it's fun because we're always finding out new things, especially with what has happened with retail trends, in 2020 and the pandemic.
Yeah. So my potion here is hazelnut black rifle coffee. Black Rifle is one of my go-to brands. What's in your cup, Kestrel?
Yeah, so it's Earl Grey tea. I love Earl Grey. I always have. I think it's tragically because that's what Captain Picard drank.
Yes, I was just going to say that. I was going to say, to Captain Picard.
It is, yeah. No, ever since I was a kid, Mom loved Captain Picard. I love Captain
Jean-Luc coffee.
Oh yeah. Actually, we're rewatching the series now, but
oh, cool.
Yeah,
the best.
Earl Grey on.
The best. I have lots of episodes that play back in my head as soon as you say that. Lots.
Yeah.
But we'll have a separate talk about that.
Oh, I could.
Trekkie Mania. In the meantime, let's get back to email marketing and retail, and let's start with planning. So, planning, the editorial calendar. Give us an idea of why it's so important, how you build it, use it, and share it.
Right. So I think one of the key things for retail editorial calendars that you might not expect from maybe other email marketing is that there are so many pivotal retail holidays that go on during the year. And let's face it, we're all human and they sneak up on you. Like, you can be a veteran email marketer and be like, oh my God, Earth Day. Totally forgot about Earth Day. And like they sneak up on you. And so these calendars are really tools that help you remember these holidays, and not just remember like when they're going to be, but of course we need to backtrack whatever it is, a month, 2 weeks, whatever, to be able to put our ducks in a row, to have the assets we need to make sure the promo codes are going to work, to plan out what that copy is going to be, do the revisions, do the testing, and then be able to deliver. And in the world of retail, of course, for many brands, Q4 is a very big time of year. That's when a lot of gift giving goes on. However, there's still quite a few other like holidays, Easter, back to school, Valentine's Day. These are also really big money-making holidays, and you don't want to forget them because then you're just leaving money on the table. And then, of course, something that I think is fun, and like a lot of other retailers do too, is you find holidays that are more for your personal brand that make a lot of sense. So like with IHOP, it's National Pancake Day, or Joy, for you, maybe it's National Coffee Day. Like maybe that's a big day for you. For Seguno, April Fools was really big for us this year. We launched like a huge campaign around this Seguno's cereal, and we created a how to create Seguno cereal. We made a full website. I actually personally made the cereal. Like, I busted out my arts and crafts skills and made this like bright orange cereal, filmed a whole viral thing about it. Anyways, that just feeds into our personality. So you don't have to be restricted by, just the standard retail holidays, you can also have fun with it and introduce things that really matter to you too. So recently, I love this brand called June Shine. They make alcoholic kombucha. They're out of San Diego. They're a great brand, really good emails, but then also just a really great product. And Earth Day means a lot to them. So for them, they're doing Earth Month, and they're really reflecting kind of the nonprofits that they're about and their dedication to try to get to carbon neutral. And so it was much more than just like, hey, buy some stuff, which not going to really work for a lot of people. And they were able to really say, like, look, this is a part of our DNA. It matters to us a lot. We know it matters to you too, because that's the branding we're going for this. So this just reaffirms a lot of the trust in our brand that you already have. So I think that, but of course you couldn't do that. You couldn't do any of that if you didn't have a really great marketing calendar to put together. And I know the next question is like, Kestrel, this sounds great. How do I make this happen? There's a couple of ways. Really, I'm a control freak. Plenty of people in marketing will sympathize.
I think it's a prerequisite.
Yeah, right. So for me, like I've tried a lot of tools. I do love just a good old fashioned Google sheet that can be shareable and is automatically updated with any kind of changes. I know back in the day, I remember working off of clients' Excel documents and having version control problems. And thank goodness, so many people have moved over more to something that's cloud-based so that those changes are made in real time. So that's essential. And then being able to set up the columns and rows the way that you want it is another key point. For me, it's very simple. It's just days of the week and then the channels that are going out. And then I block in things and color code as I see fit. The downside of that, how I've put it together, is I really can't, it's not like a true editorial calendar where I'll go in and sort things. Like I can't sort columns and rows. So say like, I want to see, and like I haven't built it like that. What I've built and what I like using right now is like a true calendar that's very customizable. And the reason why I happen to like that for me is because it's very shareable with my team. I'm the only marketer on my team, so it's very easy for them to kind of understand it, read it, see it. And then we store our like content assets in Jira in a different area.
Right, there you go.
So, and of course we can link back and forth if we need to. If you're looking to go a little bit more like to that next level but still there's free options. I've tried a lot of different content calendar softwares and editorial calendars. And I keep coming back to Asana personally. Like for me, Asana is I know there's lots of different tools out there. Maybe we'll talk more about tools later, but Asana, I think, offers up the ability to look at a calendar view and a list view, which is super key as a marketer. So
ClickUp does that too. ClickUp does that too. It has calendar views. Those tools are becoming more and more popular, and they're very helpful.
Yes. Yep. They also provide really great email marketing examples. They have great onboarding and trial programs if you're like in B2B SaaS and you happen to be listening to the retail episode.
So, when you're talking about these project management tools, collaboration, it's all about collaboration. So, it's really important, but sometimes you have a team and sometimes you have, left brain and right brain thing going on, and that's your team. Design for retail, what works, what doesn't, and how does the process of design play out in retail?
Yeah, I think this is such a good question. I'm so glad you're bringing this up because I wish we, talked about it more earlier on in people's careers. And of course, it's yet another thing you're not going to really learn in college. It's not so much that you need to learn design. That might not be ever an expertise you have. What you need to do is learn the vocabulary and nuances of speaking to a designer. You need those negotiation skills. You need those communication skills to be able to tell them what you need, because the onus is on you with what you need. Like That's the part that you bring to the table, is telling them in a clear and concise way what you need, and then being able to give them constructive feedback. And I'm sure anybody who plays both sides, who plays like designer and email marketer on here, probably sympathizes with the frustration of speaking to a stakeholder and being like, look, I made it blue. You asked for blue, I made it blue. You know, like, it's not helpful if you say, make it pop. That's not a thing I can do.
Yeah, I think that's one of my most difficult processes is the design.
Yeah.
Taking what's in my head in strategy, perhaps from the stakeholder, into design and saying, this is what I want. I'm afraid to show them exactly what I want because I'll get it right back.
Right.
Afraid to show them a stack version in an outline format because I'm afraid it will stunt their creativity and they'll come back literally with the stack.
Right.
I just never know. And that vocabulary and that collaboration and that relationship with the designer is so important. It's something that perhaps grows individually, and perhaps you'll have a great rapport with the designer, and perhaps you'll find that you're going to lead the designer every step of the way. You know, you have any magic wands about that? Anything you've learned?
Well, I do think that it's worthwhile to watch a couple. First of all, like, just the basics. Watch a couple of YouTubes on what Photoshop or what Figma or whatever tool that they're using. Watch a couple of videos on them so that you just understand some of the basics of maybe how their program works. So if you don't understand, for instance, how layers work in Photoshop, that's kind of some basic stuff that will help you throughout the rest of your career. And these are just some ways so that you can speak roughly the same language to each other, right? Like, just some basics of kind of like what design is. And I'm not saying you need to be a designer, but you need to know if you're working with a hammer or a screwdriver, that kind of thing. And then, you know, for me personally, I make really, really ugly drafts of what I want and pull in a bunch of examples, and it looks like a serial killer, like, pinup board or something like that. I mean, it looks, I have an art degree. Like, I can make things look really bad really well. Like, that's was something that I can do. But anyone can do. But the reason why I've done that in the past and it's been really successful is because it's very hard to go from 0 to 1. It's much easier to go from 1 to 2. So by that, I mean, like, that for what I call the sacrificial lamb, that's, no one ever wants to make the sacrificial lamb. It's hard. It's because it's going to be the thing that gets edited the most, and you look like a dumb in front of your boss because it got so many edits. But the truth is,
It's a starting
the first
point.
draft is always the one that gets, like, slashed and burned really bad. So I'm fine with making that sacrificial lamb, because then we can go from somewhere. Then we can start working from it. Because at a minimum, if I present something to them and they're like, oh God, I don't know how I'm like, okay, well then what could you do? The goal of the campaign is to get people to get to this website. Here's what's going to be on this website. What would you want to do here? So, you know, learn the language, have that sacrificial lamb, and then utilize a program or something where, like, you guys can do live edits. And you can do that asynchronously if you need to. So by that, I mean, like a Google Doc that's shared, and you can add comments to it, or you can do Canva, or you can do, you know, there's lots of fancy ones that cost money too. File Stage, Figma. And that way you can really get precise with your comments back. Like, take time, really think about what the comment is, and write a really thoughtful comment for specifics in the thing. And that might mean that when you first see the design come back and it's not what you wanted at all, you need to just get up and go get a cup of coffee. Like,
yeah, sometimes thinking about it, you know, even overnight sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wait, oh blue, I didn't mean blue, I really meant this, you know, and suddenly it comes to you that you thought it was all blue the whole time, but it was I don't know, magenta.
Yeah. And remember that you always kind of get more bees with honey or whatever. I don't know. Be
Yeah,
nice.
being sweet.
Be nice to this person. They're
Yes.
working really hard and you're, like it's tough. So I like to always make sure that I point out, and I learned this from doing years and years of critique in art school, point out what elements you think are working and why you think they're working, and then point out elements that don't accomplish your goals. But I would not utilize the language, I like this or I don't like this. That doesn't tell anyone anything, because what do you like about it? Who knows? You're you, I'm me. We all have different likes. What you need to say is like, this is working really well because this is getting my attention right away. This area is a little confused though, and we're stacking a lot of elements in one place. Like you've got to kind of change that. I would stay away from I like, I don't like. Of course, at the end of the day, you want to say, I love it. I like everything you do. You're a God. I worship you. But
You can say that at the end. They appreciate that.
but please do, please do. We all like that. That's very nice. But while you're going through it, just giving vague statements like, I like it, I don't like it, that's not going to help anyone.
Yeah, there are tons of tools, tons and tons of MarTech tools. But what are your essentials for email teams in retail?
Oh man. Man, this really depends on the, first of all, disclaimer, totally depends on the company that you're with. Like, I was with Cisco WebEx for a short period of time. Turns out large tech, mega tech companies are great, but maybe not for me. And great, even though Cisco is an amazing company. They do lots of good things. And I've worked for smaller companies and mid-size. So it depends on kind of like the size of the company, the budgets, and what you guys are going to use. So I'll say that first. And whatever tools you want to use, make sure that people are really fluent in them and like you're touching base on them on a regular basis. And like there's some interpersonal skills that you need to apply with the MarTech. You can't just say like, hey, here's this great solution, everybody start using it and that'll work. That is not going to happen. So that's kind of the softer side of the MarTech stack that probably doesn't get talked about enough, but like that's a thing. But then as far as like tools that I depend on every day, all day, every day, is something we've talked about, the importance of the cloud. So things that are really basic, like either Dropbox or the Google Suite, where you can just very quickly create a spreadsheet or a Word doc, a Google Doc, and you can share it with somebody and like get ideas done really fast. That's nice. I want to make sure that I keep that separate from my chat though. So some great ideas can happen in chat, but they can also get lost in chat right away.
Yes, thank you.
I would make sure that you link, like the chat always goes back to like that thing. And then you want a central hub for where all those things are going to live. And so that could be your content management system. That could be a planning software. So I really like Asana. I'm going to go back to that one. Asana and Rike, for me, those have jived really well. I've tried a bunch of other ones. For me, those jive really well. You can also use things like Jira. And if you work with a really heavy engineering group, you might need to work with Jira, and that's just a thing but it might not solve all the things you need, but you might need to work with something like Jira because that's what other people are going to listen to. I think that we have an obsession with like real-time responses with Slack or Teams or Google Hangouts, whatever, and you can end up spending a little bit too much time in there.
Yes.
And to me, that's just a sign that there's structurally not as good planning going on. And so if you can get your team to spend a little bit more time developing that great content calendar and like what needs to happen when, then I think you will spend less time. You'll spend more time working asynchronously and less time like this rabid like back and forth. And then I'm trying to think more tools for retail. God, there's so many great tools out there. Speaking, directly to like retail sites, there's lots of great plugins, you know, from like review apps to social media links to, you know, there's so many great ones out there. But specifically for email marketing, there's a lot of fun stuff with that. If you want to get wild, you know, there's things like movable ink where you can do some really innovative things. And we talked a little bit about design, like working with designers, but design for retail, you really need, like, I think, really incredible product shots nowadays, because people are, they, you know, have a really discerning eye and they want to see how things are going to really wear on the model. And I know that there's, you know, now more than ever, there's plenty of people who will take like 360 images of your product, or, you know, they'll do whatever to make sure that your product is shown off really well. And I think that those are really worth investing in now, because people are just, they won't put up with bad photography. They just won't. Like, there's just too much good photography out there. And of course, being able to utilize your social media channel to get social pictures of people wearing your product, and then getting that back in. And of course, kind of like decking out your social media with great tools too is really helpful. But when you talk about MarTech stuff for retail and email, I think that there's a ton out there. The most important thing that matters to me, though, is how is that team going to work together and make things happen? Because if you have that, that's kind of your base. And then, like, once you move on from that, there's like a lot of other things, because you could do a lot of, you can go, the sky's the limit.
One of the tools that's specific to retail, you know, the social proof tool, the trust tool, the tool where you're getting those reviews back these days. A lot of people are using that social trust as the campaign. They're using that as the social.
Yeah.
And you know, especially with retail, it talks to the customer service end, it talks to the product, it talks to the brand, and you can talk back to it. So it also shows the company and how they care about their customers. So it's quite an interesting way. It's an interesting app. It's an interesting way to manage the brand as it's shipping out, and as the customer relates to it, the loyalty, etc. So yeah, you know, there are so many tools out there, MarTech tools, and it's really difficult for any team to stick with a tool, to use it, like you said, to invest in it. So everybody's got to use it. Everybody's got to know how to use it. It really does need to apply to what you're doing. And once you get the team to sign off on it and use it and apply it, it really will help remote teams in an office. It doesn't really matter. It's a history tool. So you go back to take a look, how did that campaign play out? You know, what were the stats? What segment did we use? You know, what were the images? You know, didn't we have a problem with that campaign? What was that problem? I mean, everything should be living in that tool base, and you should use the problems with every campaign that you solve, and then go find the tools that apply to those, and then you've got, you know, the glue that's bringing all the teams together. Yeah, so another great day for email and coffee. Thanks so much for being my guest, Kestrel. How can people find you on the web?
Yeah, so you can always find me on Twitter at KestrelBird, also Kestrel Lemon on LinkedIn. And then the place that we're doing a ton of stuff, especially for retailers right now, is the Seguno YouTube. That is where I have put a lot of videos together to try to help people demystify what to do for Earth Day or Mother's Day or whatever it might be. So that's one of the places where we're really trying to demystify a lot of this stuff, make it easy for people to put together these campaigns, and, you know, get them making a lot of money for these retail holidays.
That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Well, thanks so much again, and it's been wonderful. I'd like to say happy email marketing, y'all.